Hi, it is Mike Matthews, the host of Mike's Daily Podcast, the longest-running self-produced daily podcast. And usually at the beginning of the show, I tease something I'm going to talk about later in the podcast. But today, I'm going to just throw this right at you, this interesting bit of data that came from the work management experts at Asana. This is metro areas with the fastest rising unemployment rates over the last 5 years. At number 5 is Boulder, Colorado. Number 4, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Number 3, Greeley, Colorado. Number 2, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And number 1, way down in Kokomo, but the one in Indiana. Not to be confused with the island Kokomo, which really doesn't exist, but is off the Florida Keys. And you know that song that was a number 1 for the Beach Boys. It was their first number 1 in 22 years, as well as their final top 40 hit. And it was written by the very controversial John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, and Scott McKenzie, best known for If You Go to San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair from 67. And that is but then Mike Love from the Beach Boys added the chorus, which lists the names of the islands. And it was in that movie, Cocktail. You're welcome. Okay, more interesting stuff as we go into Café Anyway. Let me open the door for you. Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
All right, time for an extreme close-up of the cat, Rocky the cat. If you're looking at the video for Mike's Daily Podcast, which can be found at facebook.com/Mike's Daily Podcast, and also go to mikesdailypodcast.com. I think there are some things in this world that might be considered wrong, considered off. I've named that Santa my song, like somebody getting a $3,000
Mike's Daily Podcast
hike in fees each month. I said hike, that's football, that's 49ers.
Mike's
They got fined
Daily
this past week, speaking of money.
Podcast.
A group of Florida
Yeah!
condo owners are fighting back after facing a potential $3,000 hike in fees each month. Amid the real estate crisis, residents of Harborage condos in Palm Beach are banding together to take on statewide regulations that could lumber them with eye-watering costs by the end of the year. Under the Structural Integrity Reserve Study, Florida is requiring condo owners to undergo surveys for repairs to comply with new state laws that were passed after that collapse of the Champlain Tower South in Miami-Dade County, which killed 98 people a couple years back. The leader of the Harborage Condos effort, Darlene Van Riper, says efforts to scrutinize the new laws said an engineer recommended $6,480,000 worth of repairs to the buildings to meet the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. So that's an extra $3,000 per home each month. So that's what, and then of course you've got inflation on top of that, and then there are other hurricanes. It's difficult to live in Florida. I don't have really any ties to Florida these days, so it's a new world.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Not having that connection, not having to deal with the fees and things that I had to take care of after my mom passed away. But apparently nearly 90% of the 20,000 plus units listed for sale in Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade are in buildings that are at least 30 years old. So they got these kind of issues. The podcast picture is not of Florida, though. It is of Alameda. And the late great Battle of the Boxers in this picture with something that pertains to Halloween. A big inflatable black cat was looking at him menacingly. He was being menacingly looked at. And you can see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. I also posted on the Instagram. A major French fry supplier for McDonald's has suddenly shuttered a plant, and they have cut jobs. Lamb Weston, which is the biggest French fries maker in North America, announced in an earnings report that it was shuttering its factory in Cornell, Washington. This from Metro.com. Along with the closing, 375 workers representing 4% of its workforce are being laid off. The company's president and CEO, Tom Werner, said that the restaurant traffic and the demand for frozen potatoes relative to supply continue to be soft.
This show is clean.
And he expects it will remain that way through 2025, through the fiscal year. What? Potatoes! Don't mess with my potatoes. I'm a guy. I love potatoes. And I don't get them as much as I would eat them all the time and be another 300 pounds heavier. And at Lamb Weston's factory closing was announced weeks after Pizza Hut's largest franchise, EYM Pizza LP, put all 127 of its remaining locations across 5 U.S. states up for sale because it was not able to bounce back from bankruptcy. All that wonderful, healthy food, which it is not. But you can sometimes find healthy food at Costco. They have a produce section. They have frozen vegetables as well that can be healthy, frozen fruits that will be healthy for you. And other thing like I've sometimes seen flaxseed meal, which is good. It's got omega-3s that are good for you. And the hemp hearts, which are good. And other things, walnuts, almonds, and so forth.
Mike is on it, man.
Go where no man has gone before.
We love it, Mike.
Well, I'm sort of on it, and I'm just borrowing this here from MarketWatch.com that they said last week its September sales rose almost 10%, boosted by one key week as shoppers appeared unfazed by the retail giant's membership fee hike. Yes, that got boosted up. Their September sales benefited by about 2% in the U.S. and 1.5% worldwide as a result of higher sales in the last week of the month due to abnormal consumer activity associated with...
This is Mike's Podcast Picnic.
Say it with me. Hurricane Helene. Hey, I have a podcast picnic going on today. I brought a bunch of healthy foods here. Look, I brought them all from Costco. Let's see. Here's some hemp hearts, which you really need to just make you have to weave that into dough or something to make it, or a smoothie. That's what you need. So I made this is a healthy picnic, but a lousy picnic. But thank you for stopping by for the picnic. And they also said due to abnormal consumer activity with the port strikes. Remember the port strikes that were happening?
I got into it.
We somehow got through that. That ended shorter than what other people were assuming it would last. They said their total same-store sales rose 6.7% in September. And that includes a 6.5% increase in U.S. same-store sales. And e-commerce sales rose by almost 23%. And that is a bunch of other numbers here that basically don't mean anything except for the fact that in July they said they were
a man. Sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
They were not selling stretchy pants as far as I know. Maybe they are, but they are increasing it. They said back in July that they were increasing their membership fees starting in the month of September in the US and Canada. And Wall Street had conjectured for months about when the retailer would hike membership fees, which they had last raised all the way back in 2017. What would happen? The basic membership rose by $5 to $65 a year. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth, look who's here. Oh my gosh, it's
Anyway.
Madame Rootabega, and it is Café Anyway. Ooh! Yes, it is. Did you have some of the hemp hearts that I brought along? Yes. Did you also have some of the very healthy salad mix that I got from Costco that also includes some dressing in there that's not really healthy? Yes. Did you have some of the walnuts? No. Walnuts aren't for everybody. I have a difficult time cooking with walnuts. I just have to eat them raw. I don't get the whole cooking with them. You really got to bake them and stuff to make them that extra crunchy and add...
people get stuck on stupid, you know what I mean?
Add some kind of sugary stuff. I don't know. But I don't want to get stuck on stupid and on sugar. So, as this crazy year continues, you heard about the Las Vegas man who was arrested with a loaded firearm and false identification at a checkpoint near the Donald Trump rally near Coachella. It was crazy. He was also in Reno, Donald Trump was, last weekend. He was a 49-year-old man named Vern Miller, stopped by the law enforcement about a mile from the rally in the Coachella Valley. And I'm guessing that's probably where they have the big country concert every year. Just thinking.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Music news is what I'm bringing to you. Actually, this is more political news. They found he was carrying a shotgun, a loaded handgun, and a high-capacity magazine. And he attempted to enter the rally with fake news passes, a phony press card. Well, here we go. Press cards. So, on the internet now, it is so easy to get yourself a press card. Kudos to them for catching and validating that it was a phony one and verifying it, because so many people are into that, that want to be big, that want to be something special.
Fabagoo. Things to do.
Their thing to do, it's not just enough that they're hosting a podcast or doing a YouTube video or a TikTok thing or whatever. They got to get that press pass. That makes them feel extra special. And typically those are only handed out to real media, like your real newspapers or radio stations or TV stations, but not to just the everyday Joe dude trying to do a internet-based type thing. So now the internet has all these ways to copy and make and create these fake passes. So this is going to be a big thing in the future down the road. It's already a big thing.
Into the incredible universe.
The sad universe. There's already a bunch of YouTube videos about how to make them. It's something that thankfully the people over there at Coachella, maybe they could teach other law enforcement around the country. You got to watch out for these guys, these idiots. The Democrat Party has reportedly closed a campaign office in Tempe, Arizona, after it was targeted with gunfire on 3 separate occasions over the past month. And this was usually overnight. Lauren Kuby, a Democrat state Senate candidate, confirmed the office had been closed with its activities transferred to alternative, undisclosed locations. The newspaper reported the office had been struck by bullets and by BB gun pellets 3 times overnight in as many weeks. Did someone come along with their gun and then bring their kid with a BB gun? What was that about? We're just going to keep shooting at Democrat buildings. I don't know. That's not the typical Arizona accent, I don't think. But the office was closed and empty at the time of all 3 incidents, thankfully, and no reports of any casualties. So, thankfully, no casualties in both of those stories with Trump and with the Democrat Party in
the Royal Trump Tweet Decree.
I'm just going to tell everybody right now, you can't accept phony passes because it's all fake news. Fake news. Fake news. It's huge. Maybe he tweeted something like that. I don't know. I haven't checked his tweets lately today. I'm going to keep calling tweets, not X's. But look who else is here. Hello, Dave Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, hey, your cat is really cool there hanging out with us outside of Café Anyway, D. Yeah, and we're still slightly congested because of all the allergies.
Republicans continue to point to San Francisco, but at the end of the day, oftentimes they are picking up their iPhone, which was introduced in San Francisco, calling their Ubers or Lyft, companies started and based in San Francisco, to go to their Airbnb company still and started in San Francisco, and then to go and tweet something nasty about our city, which again was a company until recently in San Francisco. $34 billion billion of venture capitalist investment last year alone, the AI capital of the world. That's what I will say. You can continue to try and put out a narrative, but the facts tell a different story.
Do you know that? Oh, okay. That was London Breed explaining why San Francisco, everybody should just stop dumping on it. Oh my gosh. It's enough. That's enough. Put down the mic. It's enough. Well, what do you think about all that? You can give me a call. Here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to Mike's Daily podcast.com. What? The actual host of this show messes up the name from time to time? That's crazy. Yeah, so we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame about all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Rocky the cat, for hanging out. Thank you, late great Basil the Boxer, for being such a wonderful inspiration to all of us to get out there and go for a walk and stay healthy and eat our hemp hearts.
Pretty much.
And be happy.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
That was episode 2932. To catch all the other podcasts that I have done and see the podcast pictures and all things having to do with the show, including my radio station that's called the Best Obscure Rock Songs Found by Mike Matthews Station, you can go to my website, mikesdailypodcast.com.